Welcome to my co-writer, Randy Morrison, and congratulations on your huge success in Texas with the single I Will by Darrin Morris Band.
Thanks. It's been a really fun ride. I think watching that song get cut and watching the reaction to it, both on the charts and just in social media, just seeing people's reaction to that song has been really great. Really fun.
Hmm. So that must be every songwriter's dream to have a number one hit.
No, I think I can't say I thought that big. Probably my dream was to just get a cut, right, and how people react to it. Uh, and see some of the response that I've seen again, mostly on social media, but a lot of it in person. So yeah, when Darrin first heard the song and wanted to cut it, he told me then that whoever he had put it in front of, I know he has a radio promoter, but someone had told him they thought that that song would have a chance to become a number one in the Texas market. So he kind of set that tone early on, even though I really didn't know, and I really had no idea that it would do as well as it's done.
Yeah, and every songwriter wonders how to get their songs out there. And you've got an interesting story. How did you get your song to Darren Morris?
Yeah, there was a little bit of a personal connection. And so I'll back up a little bit. So you put the song out, through the normal ways. I've had a lot of publishers listen to that song. Um, Even people like Liz Rose, who is both a Nashville writer and a publisher. She's written songs for like Taylor Swift. And Liz Rose heard that song. She said, not only is that a marketable song, she said that's a hit song. Jack Ingram said that's a hit song. But yet nobody offered to take it and pitch it. Nobody offered to take it. And I put it in front of publisher after publisher. I always got great response to that song, but no one ever offered to pitch it. And when I played it out at Ride Arounds, I played it at the Ride Arounds over in the Dallas Fort Worth area. Got a huge response to it. I played it at a couple in Nashville. So I knew the song did well, but I had literally about given up on it because I put it in front of so many publishers. But one of there are three ladies that work in the office that I used to manage, and I had given all of them, some of my demos. Just they wanted to. We talk about it at breaks, and uh, one of those, Leanne Osborne, loved that song, and she had a connection to Darrin because her daughter and Darrin's daughter are best friends, and so she asked me if she could send that song over to Darrin. And I said, fine, yeah, no problem. And of course, he called me back about 2 days later and said, can I cut this song? And and I knew who Darrin was. We both, I've played in bands around East Texas. He lives in Gilmer. He's about an hour north of where I live in Tyler. So when we were playing in bands, we played at some of the same places. Literally played the same venues on the same day, so I knew who he was, but I really didn't know him well. Uh, but it's just that strange connection. The admin that works for me knew her daughter, knew him. They live in the same town, and that's how it got to him. Otherwise, I would have had no connection, no way to get it to him.
Interesting. So sometimes it's just coincidence, and but it still shows that you have to work for your own songs and get connected with musicians and artists.
You do, and I'll tell you something else about that. When when Darrin first wanted to cut it, my first reaction was I was a little bit disappointed because, my goal for that had been to get, Blake Shelton. I wanted that major cut for that song.
Yeah.
And because of the kind of publisher feedback I'd had in Nashville, I thought, I don't I don't know why I hadn't got this. I don't know why, because one of the writers on that song is signed to Sony. Why hadn't Sony got this cut? And I have just been really pleasantly surprised, though, by the doors that it's opened. Don't discount what a regional artist might be able to do for you as a writer. Because it still gets noticed in Nashville. When you say you've got a cut that's done well in a smaller market, that still gets huge notice, and it still opens doors. And it actually it's done much better than what I thought it would do. So, not only is it number one in the Texas market, it's now being listened to by a guy with Stormy Warren with Sirius Radio. And if he picks it up, now it's got a national and a worldwide market. It still has, when publishers listen, it's still got a possibility that, a major national artist might still do it. The fact that it's been on radio here doesn't mean that they won't do it, which is a little bit different than what I had heard earlier. I'd heard that, if your song ever gets put on radio, you can forget the major artist cutting it. Well, that's not what they're telling you. That's not what all these publishers are telling you. That if it's a good enough song, other artists will cut it. And it's got a, it's recorded in a kind of a Texas country style, although the original song was a little more pop, so it's still got that possibility that somebody might take it and do it in a little more of a pop direction.
Yeah, it shows the power of the hit song. So you'll never know where it goes.
That's really true. That's really true. I mean, great songs just seem to have their own momentum and their own wings.
Can you tell me, Randy, a little bit about an ordinary day? What's it like for a songwriter like you?
So I've been writing songs now at some level for probably 10 to 12 years, but really in the last 5 years, I'd say, pursuing it as a commercial venture, right? Trying to get songs to the market. But I'm still working part-time. I still work as a consultant, so I'm still working at least 20 to 30 hours a week. So I schedule writes in around that. I try to not do 2 writes in a day. I try to keep it to 1 co-write per day. I love having regular writers, like you and Lindsay and I now have been co-writing, I guess, weekly for close to 2 years. I love the familiarity of that because we know we respect each other. I feel there's a great deal of mutual respect in that co-write. I feel like there are really good ideas. We look for good ideas. We look for good melodic ideas as well as lyric ideas and hooks. And I feel like everybody is pulling their own weight. Everybody is seeking the same thing, which is commercial songs. And that's really what I like in co-writers. I like not only people that are talented, but I like people that have the same sort of goals. The reason I say that is because I have written with people that are just kind of writing for fun. But once the song is done, they just want to go write another song. They're not really interested in doing anything with that one. So people that are like-minded are all looking for, can we get those songs out? Can we get them to market? Do we have ways to get them out? So that's really what I look for in writers. I look for writers that both we have good chemistry. There's a good blend of talents. You don't have 2 or 3 lyric writers in a room and nobody that can write good melodies or nobody that can build a decent track. You kind of need that blend to make it work. And I've got 2 or 3 of those kind of co-writing relationships where we've written regularly together now over a period of time, developed a good chemistry. Some of those we try to bring an artist. If we can find a young artist to come in, we'll try to bring an artist into that, right? But that's what's worked for me so well. Now that's my nature is to be very kind of steady, consistent, very loyal. I'm loyal to people. Um, and I love building those relationships and keeping them rather than writing constantly with new people all the time. So I do try to bring new people in to the mix. Of course, having a hit song gets you a lot of people that want to write with you, and I do try to bring those kind of people in. But it's still, to me, I prefer the familiarity of writing people with people that I know, that we've already developed a good relationship. I think that, to me, that has generated better results in the long term.
Hmm. Randy, where do you find inspiration for your songs?
I think the bigger inspiration for me is usually with the hook itself. Is it a hook? Is it an idea that strikes home to me? Does it feel emotional to me? And that can, for me, that more starts with the hook than with the melody. But great melodies can inspire really good hooks too. Um, and sometimes, song ideas come from personal things. Um, those tend to have more emotion tied to them. But gosh, I look for ideas, in conversations that I will came out of a conversation. Sometimes they come from television, from movies, from books, from church, um, just anywhere. I mean, as a writer, you kind of have to have those writer ears always turned on, and you're always listening for something that sounds like it could be a song idea. Because songs, good songs, um, ballads are hard to get cut. That seems to be the hardest thing to get cut. Good songs seem to be about kind of a moment in time almost. So, I'll give you an example of one. One of my very favorite songs right now is one that Tim McGraw has cut called "I Called Mama." "I Called Mama" is about him receiving bad news about one of his friends and how he reacted to that. And it's literally about something that happened to the writer or to the singer in a period of just a few hours. It's getting that phone call, you know, driving down to the Texaco and getting a snack and going out and sitting and taking his guitar out and trying to write a song about it. And at the end of the day, he says, I just picked up my phone and called mom. I get emotional about that because I've lost my mom.
Hmm.
And that song just does something.
Hmm.
Those ideas that hit you emotionally
Hmm.
doesn't impact you emotionally, it's probably not going to impact your audience emotionally.
Yeah.
Then it's probably going to impact a lot of other people emotionally. So you look for those ideas, and they don't have to be sad, but they don't have to be those sad ideas. They can be nostalgic. They can be just fun, just some fun idea that triggers your emotion. But as a writer, that's where you find the gold, is when you find those ideas that have some emotion around them, that triggers some kind of emotion in the listener. That's what makes a good song, something that will make you feel that emotion that the singer's trying to get across. Part of it comes from the music. I'd say a lot of it comes from the music, but it also comes from that hook, from that idea that the song's about. And it's usually, the best ones are usually just about a moment in time. They're just about something that happened. That's why there's never any shortage of good ideas out there, because everybody has those experiences, and everybody can look back in their experiences and think of things that have happened to them that caused emotion, and you write about those things.
Yeah, it's about touching people, isn't it? Randy, does it happen that you get stuck, that you get out of ideas?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I've probably got, I use a thing called Airtable to keep my book ideas in just because I can get to it from any device, right? It's on the desktop, it's on my phone, it's on wherever I go. So if I get an inspiration for a melody, I'll sing it in my phone and I'll keep that as a riff. If I get an inspiration for a song idea, a hook, a title, or just what could a song be about, I usually just pull out my phone and I'll type it into Airtable, and that way I've got it. A lot of people use notes. That's fine. You can use notes on an iPhone. I used to do it there, but I mean, you could probably say this too. I've had an idea at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I will get up out of bed and I'll go either write that into my phone, or I'll go, if it's a melody idea, I'll go sing that into my phone. It's just whenever you get that inspiration, you learn as a writer, you got to capture that right then, because you may lose it. You're going to think, well, I'll remember that later. And I've done that. I've had good ideas that I was busy at the time, or I was tired and I didn't want to do it. And I thought I would remember it later, and I didn't. I completely forgot it. And I think I probably lost some good ideas like that. So you have to sort of groom that within yourself as a writer. There are books that can help you with techniques to do that. Really, most any book on creative writing, they will put some exercises in there. I've done some of those things. I can't say I practice them all the time, but there are techniques and things that help you develop skills as a writer. But the biggest thing is that those antennas, your writing hat has to be on all the time. And you're always listening and looking for ideas. It can come off of a billboard. It can come off another song. It can come off of an interview. I've read Taylor Swift used to get a lot of her ideas from the social media posts that people would put on, about her. So she was literally taking other people's life experiences and writing songs about those. But the best ones, I think, come from your own experience, honestly, because you have emotion attached to it.
Yeah, that's interesting.
But yeah, about getting stuck, yeah, you do get stuck.
Yeah.
That's where I think your co-writers, particularly if you've got some great co-writing relationships, they can kind of pull you out, because as writing teams, it's not usual that everybody gets stuck at the same time. Um, but yeah, you're going to go through those ups and downs as a writer, and there's times when you're just not as creative and not as productive as others. But you just have to work through those. I mean, that's a normal part of being a writer. Is some days are just more creative than others.
Hmm. What's your forte in a co-write? What's your strengths? And do you ever take different roles in a co-write?
Yeah, so um, I kind of think of myself as a utility infielder in baseball. I can play all the positions. Um, and I think that's the strength that I bring to a co-write, is that I can play all parts. So people, when they think of writing a song, most people think that it's just melody or lyrics. I think there are more parts to that than writing a song. Um, the first part is the idea itself, right? Um, Sometimes you just bring a good idea and somebody else takes that idea and they write out the lyrics and they produce the melody. That was actually the case with I Will. I brought that idea. I wrote the chorus. So much of the chorus lyric there was my original lyric. But then the other writers took that and created melody around it. I didn't create that melody. Um, and the scenario for the song is different than what I had originally written. But that's fine. I brought the idea. Um, And that's what other writers, I think if you talk to pro writers, they'll tell you a lot of times, particularly when they're starting out as writers, their strength is just finding those good ideas, because anybody can do that. Anybody can find good ideas. But I have, I'm a musician. I've been a musician for a long time, mostly guitar. I'm getting better at keyboard and piano, and I'm trying to pick up mandolin. So I have strength as a musician in knowing how songs are arranged, knowing different chord structures, knowing different chord patterns, knowing how to try different things to see. Oftentimes, I think it's best to try melody without playing anything. Just sing it, because you can put different chords under a melody and make it sound a little different, right? So that comes a little bit later. Originally, I was told, I did a mentorship with a Nashville guy who originally told me my strength is in writing lyrics. I don't think I get in the room with people that I think are stronger lyric writers than me. So, but the other parts to me, when we talk about parting the writing, it's finding the idea. That's number one. Developing the melody around that idea, around that hook. That's number two. Number three is, what should the song be about? That's not the lyric. It's saying, how do we take this idea and how do we turn that into a 3-minute story? And that's a separate gift. That's a separate talent. You may not be the guy or the girl that's writing the lyric, but you can take that idea and say, well, what avenue, how would we write this idea? What is the story? And how would you write a story about that particular idea that's going to resonate with people? And then the fourth part of that is literally finding the lyric. What is the lyric to that? So I see 4 parts to writing a song. And I think writers should strive to hone all of those. They're going to find they're probably stronger at one of those. I guess the 5th part is building a track. I forgot to throw that in, because now that's nearly a part of every co-write, right? Is you can't afford to go hire somebody to build tracks for every song you do. It helps if somebody has the skills to put down a track, at least a basic track that you could use as a basic demo. So I guess that's 5 parts to writing. Yeah. And I think I can do all 5 of those. I think my strength is a little more towards the lyric, although I'm a fairly strong musician, but it's in figuring out the story. What should it be saying? What should verse 1 say? And if we're setting up that lyric in verse 1, now what would verse 2 say? So I love, and from our co-writes, I think it's valuable to spend the first maybe hour or 2 hours talking about that. You don't dig into the lyric first. To me, that's a mistake that a lot of writers make, is they're just throwing lyric out there without thinking about, well, what exactly is the song saying? Because the strength of the song is not necessarily in the lyric. It's in what is it saying and how do you set the lyric up? And are you writing to that hook, right? So, if you got to think about your hook and what it is that you're saying to the audience, and is everything in that song from verse to pre-chorus to chorus to verse 2, is everything kind of riding towards and setting up that hook so that it lands with the greatest amount of emotion? And even better is, can you write the chorus and the hook in a way that verse 1 colors it one way, and now verse 2 or the bridge colors it a completely different way? Those are very strong songs. When you have that aha moment when you hear that verse 1 and you hear the chorus, you say, ah, yeah. And now you hear verse 2 and you say, oh, okay, wow, I didn't hear it that way. Or you hear the bridge and you say, oh yeah, man, that gives it a different flavor altogether. Those are good songs. Those are people that keeps somebody listening from the start of the song to the end of the song, because it's got those little different nuances in them, and good writers put that in there. Good writers are looking for those things.
Thank you, Randy, for doing this interview, and thanks for taking the time. Good luck with writing on, and I'm sure the Norwegian listeners will enjoy your song. It's a wonderful song, I Will by Darrin Morris Band.
Yeah, well, good luck to you. I think we'll have success as a team.
Thank you, Randy. That's very kind of you.